Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Katie Longhauser, and I have Chelsea with us, Chelsea Corp. Hi.
Hi.
I am one of the co-founders of Virtually Yours Agency, and this is Confessions of a Business Owner. So today we are talking with one of our amazing virtual assistants with Virtually Yours and learning some bits of knowledge and wisdom from her because I believe we gain nuggets of wisdom from everybody, right? And Chelsea is an amazing VA. She's an amazing mama. She's an amazing person. And we've had the luxury of getting to know her in the last year, a little over a year, I think, with Virtually Yours. And we thought she would be able to jump on here and share with us what it's like to be a virtual assistant with an agency, and kind of let her share her journey a little bit and the path of becoming this virtual work person, and juggling all the things, and also sharing like what it's like to be a part of an agency and compared to maybe doing it on your own. So Chelsea, kind of introduce yourself.
Hi, I am Chelsea, and as Katie said, I am a new mama of a 9-month-old little girl, juggling that as well as just being in the entertainment industry. I live in Los Angeles, California, so pursuing the arts as well, and stumbling across Virtually Yours Agency has been such a blessing, just such a blessing, for my life. So now I can add in my VA role, which I was doing kind of on my own, which does lead me to the benefits of being part of an agency. Oh my gosh. First of all, just so much easier to put your trust in two women, Katie and Mary, um, for them to pair you up, to be matchmakers, to pair you up with your ideal client, already taking into consideration who I am and you guys also knowing the clients that you're working with. It's just so nice to be paired up as opposed to doing it on my own and seeking people out and having to kind of do cold reach outs to people.
Yeah.
That's already like just being part of an agency already gives me my time back in that regard. And also there's the trust factor. It kind of goes through, that middleman who can kind of weed out or even again pair you up with your perfect match.
Yeah. So before I ask you a question, I'm just going to clarify. So our pairing process in Virtually Yours is very customized. So Mary and I hear the needs of a client or a business owner or whatever, and then we identify from our roster of talent a virtual assistant that would be the best match, or maybe a few that would be the best match for the client. So Chelsea is part of our roster of talent that we have. And so you're saying, I guess, is it's a luxury to be on the roster, and we're like, hey, can we put you in? Are you ready? Or hey, this is the play that we're going to run. Are you ready? Are you ready to play this team or be a part of this team here? So prior to becoming part of Virtually Yours, Chelsea, so you were doing lead generation on your own to find your own clients. And maybe share a little bit about the kind of work that you do also virtually.
So I do heavily in social media is where I tend to be. I have done just like more of an executive assistant role. But I primarily do social media and that is also feeds my soul creatively. So I do end up having the luxury of not only in my career am I able to be creative, but also in my work, in my stability, I'm also able to express that creativity. So generally social media, and that's all social media across the board, um, email campaigns, all that kind of stuff is generally where I fit in most.
Great. And then you're really great at it too. You're very creative. Like the aesthetic is really pretty. It's very cohesive. I mean, you nail it when it comes to representing like a brand well. Like, and you've been paired with different kinds of clients, very different aesthetics,
Totally.
different like messaging, and you do it really well. So what sort of so prior to Virtually Yours, you were contacting clients,
Right.
kind of saying if you're looking for social media help, if you're looking for somebody, they could contact you. Is that what that looked like before?
Totally. That's exactly what it was. It was generally like a direct message or an email from LinkedIn or whatever I could kind of do. And again, sometimes I feel like you lose the professionalism of it a little bit, especially if it's coming from your personal account sometimes when you reach out. But also, again, like time consuming.
Mhm.
It's a lot more, no's or no responses than it is yeses. Of course, those yeses are the ones that keep you going per se, but being a part of an agency just, yeah, it's wonderful, especially working under people like you and Mary who take the time to get to know us as virtual assistants. So therefore, again, it just makes the pairing process a lot more seamless in that regard.
Yeah, I really love people. I really love learning about people. I love, like being in the arts. Like you have a totally different view on life and different passions than what I do. So I think it's interesting to learn about you and like, the things that you do and seeing your social media and your dancing and, your real, it's like, wow. And your daughter's beautiful and your family's beautiful. So it's really fun for me to get to know these people and bring them into like our lives and our world and then see you have tremendous success with your clients. So I'm going to ask you kind of go backwards first, and then we'll kind of talk about your clients. But when you first started to do virtual work, how long ago, how long was that? And then what propelled you into creating a workspace virtually or online like you have now?
So I would say it's been like 10 years when I first started. Granted, I don't think I knew the trajectory of social media world. Um,
Mhm.
I don't think I knew it was going to be so prevalent and so kind of necessary today. So it
Mhm.
was more so for fun and it was to help people out. And again, just like people would ask, like, creative eye, do you mind looking at this? Or I'd be like, maybe if you switch this or that. So it kind of fell into my lap as like a career path. And since then I worked on growing my own, and that led me to that success led me to, I could really do this for other people. Granted, social media is ever changing, so you kind of have to just be on it at all times. But that was kind of the how it began. And since then, it's just, I don't want to say fallen into my lap because I've definitely put effort into it,
Right.
but it's kind of been a natural progressive process, I guess, as
Yeah.
far as, yeah, taking on other people and helping them out. And then people offering even along the way, like, hey, if I gave you the passwords to this account, would you be able to do something with it? Sure. So, I feel I'm trustworthy. So sure,
You are. You are. So prior to working virtually and in addition to the virtual work you do, tell us a little bit more about what else you do. But I know you're a mom, a newer mom, but also tell us about some of the arts and the creative work that you do.
So outside of this, I'm with a dance and a theatrical agent. So they send me actively on auditions and I do self tapes and all the things to potentially work jobs. So I do work on set um, quite a bit, which again, the luxury of being able to do social media is you can pre-plan. So I can pre-plan these things and, you know, even if it's giving them 10 hours a week, if I need to knock that out in 2 days, I can do that. You know what I mean? So therefore, the industry is very last minute. So if you book a job, you audition at the beginning of the week, maybe midweek, you are booked for the job. You just never know. And then you have set days, which can be anywhere between 8 hours, 12 hours. You never know. So again, being able to pre-plan with the social media has been amazing, but I professionally dance and I'm also an actress. So it's really fun. It's just a complete, it's a wild world, but it's
Yeah.
really fun. And I choreograph and creative direct and movement coach and all the things.
That's amazing. And I'm not somebody who is talented with movement. Like I cannot. And so I
You
really
can.
well, not like you. And I've been an athlete, like rigid more movements, right? Like so the respect I have for what you're doing is tremendous and it's amazing and you make it look effortless and so natural and I think it's beautiful the way you can move and create this like I mean, it's an art, but I think it's so beautiful to watch. And so I'm very entertained by your social media and to see the stuff that you're doing because I think it's amazing. Because I know it's something that I would very much struggle to do. So I have a lot of respect. And I think it's super cool that you are so passionate about it and love it, and you do it alongside, because a lot of people become
Totally.
moms and they're like life, that part of my life is over. And you're like, no, it's not. It's so much a part of you, right? And that's the impression
Totally.
I get from like your social media. It's in a part of you, and then you like creative expression, but it also makes you feel whole, is what I gain. Or like that's what I like, that's kind of what I'm picking up from social media without ever talking to you about this. And then
Mhm.
in addition to that, it seems like the creative work that you do as a virtual assistant, virtual support person, like it lends itself to the lifestyle that you're building, right? So, which I think is beautiful. And that's something I tell my kids all the time, like choose the jobs, the careers that allow you to be who you want to be. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Without like, I'm gonna be a doctor because I want to be a doctor, but why? Like, what kind of life does that provide? What kind of impact does that make? You know? And we're not saving the world as virtual, as a virtual assistant agency, right?
No.
But we are helping making people's lives better. Um,
100%.
and and you get to fulfill your passion as probably a mom and
Mhm.
as an artist, which I think is beautiful.
Yeah, and I think also being a virtual assistant, it gives you that freedom to be your best self for your family, so that like maybe as my daughter gets older, or this, like you don't have to miss the sports games, or you don't have to miss
Yeah,
as much, like as opposed to having that, in office, maybe 9 to 5, whatever it may be,
right.
maybe you are forced to have to miss more than you'd like to. This is just it's very liberating to be able to do. And I think that's also why you want to give more to your clients, because it's a good balance. You have that freedom to do what you want, to jump on a coffee date if you want to with a friend, and
Mhm.
you don't miss out on life. Your life isn't just like a cubicle.
Right,
It's
right,
wherever you want to sit in your home or a
right.
coffee shop. You
So
know?
that leads me to questions kind of about your clients, but also being at home. So some people
Mhm.
believe that being home, sometimes there's a like a lack of efficiency because you can get easily distracted, right? So how do you make it work when you work from home and find that balance to give the 3, 4, 5, whatever hours a day that you do to the social media and supporting your clients and juggling all the other things? How do you balance that?
So I feel like personally, I like to knock everything out in the morning. Like I like to, when everyone's still asleep, or probably, whenever my baby's asleep, I like to
Mhm.
just knock it out in the morning, a big chunk in the morning. But if I feel like I'm getting too complacent in one part of my home, I will change environments. And I
Yes.
think that helps. Or it's like, you know, opening a window or something, or stepping outside, whatever you need to do to kind of recenter and refocus. I do feel that being a mom forces you to be disciplined in the time frames that you're given.
Mhm.
So again, if I know my baby's napping for an hour and a half, 2 hours, I have no choice but to get things done in that time frame.
Mhm.
And then there are times where I'm like, I feel like doing this at a coffee shop today.
Mhm.
But I don't feel like, I think it's just you have to know your level of discipline. Are you somebody who gets easily distracted by things? Are you someone who can laser focus on things? Are you better in the beginning half of the day? Are you better at the end? Like whatever it may be. So, and sometimes creativity for me, and my clients do know this, like sometimes if they're on different time zones or whatnot, I'm sometimes the creativity strikes at night, or if I can't give them a clear answer that day as far as like a creative idea, I'm like, let me just sit on it. I've already had a full day of just life. At night, when everything is still and silent, I'm going to let the thoughts creep in. And then usually I can give it to them the next morning or whatever it may be. But I don't know. It's kind of just going with it, you
Yeah.
know?
Right. Yeah. But you get it done, right? Like
Yeah,
I'm like
totally.
you. I stack up early in the day. And if
Yep.
it has to be pushed to later, it will. But I,
Yep.
like you, I like to stack the front end of my day because I have the most energy. I
Totally.
feel, I think I get more energy the more I can accomplish earlier on. And then
Totally.
kids are home from school like at 3 o'clock. So I don't know, I try to
Yeah.
not, yeah.
Then you can go
So
back to being a mom.
yeah, being a mom, because that's what's the point of working and having the flexibility if I like having a virtual environment that I can work in if I'm doing it when they're always here? I intentionally
Totally.
save housework stuff for them to see me doing it and them actually jumping in too. But I don't, the house, they came home and the house was totally clean. No, no, we're going to do this together.
Totally. Yep. It's a group effort.
It's a group effort. So talking about some of your clients, can you share with us, you said it's very fulfilling, the work that you're doing, right? Because you get to be your whole self, fill that other parts of yourself outside of the virtual work that you do. But what are some of the wins that you have accomplished with your clients that have been really noteworthy and have meant a lot to you, or were really like, wow, this is like significant, right? For the business owner or just for yourself?
So there was one client in particular, um, who, again, seeing them win is fulfilling for me.
Yeah.
So seeing an email campaign that I was able to do triple her um her sales.
Yes.
So
I
seeing
remember
that and
this.
seeing that number just was amazing. Was
Yeah.
absolutely amazing to see, and then also to see her keep a pretty, I mean, it would ebb and flow, but like for the most part, keep a pretty steady growth for her email campaigns. I was like, okay, you're helping people, you're intentionally putting energy into helping people, but to see it actually come into fruition is just it's what keeps you going, right?
Right.
And
I
then I had
remember that because I remember like they were doing well, right? But it
totally.
was, and she was writing her emails prior to you, but you came in and I don't know what magic you put in there, but it was consistent that every email that you wrote, it was like it always increased their open rate and their sales would increase. And yes, they had record sales, but then they hit a really high record of sales after that one email. And it was like, we need to write more emails. Like you need to write,
Yeah,
like that's the equate, like don't worry about social media, stay consistent. I remember we kind of pivoted the scope to if the emails are knocking it out of the park, let's can be stay there. Like let's keep feeding that fire, right?
totally. And again, it makes you it keeps you go me keep blah, blah, blah. It makes me want to keep going in that regard because it's like obviously I want to help her in any way I can, but specifically with those emails, we were like, this is working. Like to
Yeah.
see results. And I think we're all results driven to some degree. It's just nice to see that. Obviously, we're going to keep chipping away at it until it works, but yeah, it
But
was
let's
one.
be clear, this wasn't a company or a kind of company where you had an area of expertise in, right?
No, none, none at all. It was very much learning as we go. But again, it was more just throwing that creative energy into it.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's what it needs to like zhuzh it up to like make it more exciting, but also understanding the voice of my client. So
Yes.
that's kind of fun for me because I've been with clients with so many different voices.
Mhm.
Even down to like silly things like the emojis that they use. Like I
Mm.
know who uses what emoji. Like I know all the things now. So even for like their subject lines of their email or their email campaigns, it's like who uses what emoji, like silly things like that. But
Yeah.
it's how they would, naturally
Yeah,
speak.
that's
So
their voice. Yeah, that's their tone. So, okay, so can you name some of the different industries that you've helped and supported, just so we can kind of see the range of the kind of clients you've worked with, and then, yeah, where like again, any other big impact stories or like stories that were significant to you, or things that you wish your clients knew, like you could just like transfer this knowledge to them, and you wish that they would know this after working with you or moving forward.
ooh, that one's good. I'm gonna have to think on that one for a second. But as far as the
Yeah, your
diverse
industries.
clients,
Yeah.
yeah. So entrepreneurs, I've uh paint company, sensory class
Oh, like
classes,
children's classes, yeah.
children's classes,
Mhm.
let's see, a sock company, choreographer, I've done a preschool. It's like
Wow.
everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere. But it's again so fun. It's so
Yeah.
fun. So yeah, I even feel like there's more than that, but that's
Is there a consistent theme, even though they're all different industries, is there a consistent theme that you see with clients? Like maybe it's a similar pain point, or maybe there's a similar like thought process that goes into, and then you come in and you kind of disrupt it. Like, what do you see like a certain theme from them?
You know what? I do. So I think a lot of people are, I guess they're all invested in whatever they're doing, as they should be. Whether it's coaching, whether it's the kids classes, whether it's they all have to give their energy towards that. So when we're thinking about social media here, like that's their genius per se, what they're doing and what they're giving in that regard.
Mhm.
So social media feel like they don't have the extra energy or the bandwidth to focus on that, be it the aesthetic, be it the consistency in what they're posting. So I feel like that's where I come in as, you know, just the fine print and like the details of it all. And I'm able to meet with them, speak with them, understand their voice, and translate it to their social media. So then I come in and help with the consistency of it so that there can be actual growth and people can find them because
Mhm.
it's a search engine at this point as well. And
Mhm.
then just organizationally, I think that translates a lot as well. Like if I click on a page, it doesn't necessarily, for me personally, it doesn't matter about the follower count, but if I see that aesthetically it looks organized, then there's a trust factor that goes with that business or that person or company. Um, so yeah, I feel like everybody kind of is focused on what they should be focused on, their level of expertise. And again, it's also different. And I again think that's where I can be of assistance is just the details.
Right, right. And they matter, right?
They
They
do.
change the way a page feels. They change to how much, like you said, confidence in the brand, confidence,
Totally.
and even understanding what the brand does, like what
Totally.
they represent and what they do and what they value. Like, so, and do I
Totally.
align with this brand? Like, I think the messaging is significant. So, I love getting into the nitty-gritty of all the like this stuff because it is significant. Like the voice, the messaging in social media is so significant now, I feel like more than ever. Um,
Totally.
you've been amazing to interview and talk to. Transitioning to kind of the next thing, what advice would you give, or we'll kind of wrap this up. What advice would you give to somebody who's considering being a virtual assistant? And maybe something you wish you knew, maybe like 10 years ago before you started, or 5 years ago. Like what would you have told your younger self that you wish you would have known back then that you know now?
I think just so I would tell anybody who's considering this, do it. It's such a blessing. And again, there's so many different avenues within it. Like if it's not social media for you, if it's more executive assistant, whatever it may be, there's a place for you to shine. And there's also different clients. And just to trust the process and trust you and Mary because you guys really are experts at what you do as well. And again, to say this for the millionth time, our wonderful matchmakers who take our personalities, I guess, and expertise into consideration. So do it, do it. And then my younger self, I think you can do anything. You don't necessarily, a period of time doesn't have to go by to make you an expert at what you do, right? It's
Right.
like, it doesn't need to be, I could have started applying myself to be, say, a virtual assistant or especially in social media years ago, but I felt like, and I think society kind of makes you feel this way, you're only an expert if you've done it for, over 5 years, for 10 years, for whatever it may be. I think just trusting myself that if you pay attention and you're disciplined in learning and you are passionate about it, you don't have to, it doesn't take you maybe 5 years, 10 years, whatever it may be to be that. Like you can do it now. You can do it right now. Just give yourself that time to learn.
Mhm.
And also be okay with making mistakes because you will learn and you'll get better.
Right.
So
That's the best way to learn is mistakes is actually you'll learn faster when you make mistakes.
totally. So just trust that it's, again, I think for both, all part of the process. And, you know, you're where you're supposed to be and whatever you feel magnetized to, I guess, is for you. So just, I don't know,
Yeah.
trust what you got.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I believe we're all like, we're here on purpose for a purpose. And, if God puts you in a certain place, I think there's a reason. Right. And so figuring
Mhm.
out what that is significant and why. So final question is, so we've never met in person, right? We have only
No,
known each other virtually. And Mary and I have met in person two, maybe three times in the
so wild.
4 years, a little over 4 years we've known each other. So people, but it's like there's kind of this like belief that building trust virtually and hiring a virtual assistant or building a relationship with somebody that you only employ or contract with virtually is there's a lack of trust, or maybe there's a difficulty with trusting them. How have you been able to navigate that with clients?
I think active communication, just
Hmm.
actively communicating and being a human.
Hmm.
And I think people are much more understanding than sometimes we think. I think we were taught like leave your problems at the door, which I mean, for the most part, okay. But like I think if you're honest with people and transparent with people and you're like, "Hey, for example, with me, even us starting the Zoom, my baby's going through a sleep regression, crying, and thankfully you are empathetic to that." And I think communicating those things like, hey, maybe now's not a great time. Can I touch base with you in 20 minutes? And just keeping in constant communication or, yeah, I really think that that instills trust quickly too. I think if everything's perfect and great and all the things, like maybe you're honestly more weary than like, oh, I'm really tired or, oh,
Hmm.
mom life is rough or whatever it may be. I mean, we're humans, so we're allowed to have different feelings and emotions or I have a doctor's appointment this day or I'm
Right.
going into labor or whatever it may be. I think, you know, it, you almost you become friends quickly with sharing your heart with somebody, I feel like. So, I don't know. I think don't neglect who you are. Put more your a little bit of yourself into things too. It's not just work. It can be more than that. You know what I
Right.
mean? A
Yeah.
human connection.
Right. Yes, I think you're absolutely right. I think connection and communication can occur very so a deeper connection and level of trust can occur quickly when there's communication and proactive communication, not reactive
Totally.
communication, right? And so I think that makes a big difference. And so for me, I have a lot of trust in you because you are really great at communication, not just verbal communication when we're talking on Zoom, but you message, hey, just give you a heads up, whatever, like so great, right? So communication builds trust. Then I think knowing that you have a history of success, knowing you have a history of really performing great work with clients, not just with our agency, but in before prior to us, and then actually seeing the products that the product of your work, right? The product of the time, the results of the time that you've put with clients and stuff like that. So that also builds trust for us and confidence in you, and also hearing from the people you've worked with and seeing the result of the relationships you've built with those clients in our agency. And I mean, continue to build trust. So trust, I think, just builds, right? It's a building block, the building blocks that continue to stack
Totally.
together. So virtual work is possible, right?
Yes.
And it can be done so efficiently and smoothly. So is there anything else that I didn't ask you or we didn't touch on that you would love to add
I
to this
feel like
conversation?
just a small thing to share. If there's anybody out there who's more, say you do have dreams or other aspirations, but obviously we have to make a living.
Yeah.
I will say as a mom, it feels really good to be able to contribute financially to my household. I am just somebody who likes to work, so I feel very blessed in that regard. But also, I look at it too as my dream fund. So, what I'm doing, or so not only do I already enjoy what I'm doing, but I can fund my dreams and I can fund the projects I want to create and fund my lifestyle. And so I think if you're hesitating on getting like a job per se, if you look at it, if you switch your mindset too and think about it as like, oh my gosh, I'm so blessed. Every day I get to put something towards my dream fund. I think it just makes it that much more enjoyable.
Hmm.
So that would be I think that's like just a little something.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is you have goals, right? Like you have
Totally.
a dream and a goal, and this is part of what the work here is kind of contributing to that fund.
100%.
Yeah.
And then I can share with my daughter, like you can do it all, And so that's another thing where I'm like, I'm excited to tell her one day that you can work, you can,
Yeah.
do it all. You could just do it all.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I
yeah,
love that. It like makes me like almost teary. Like it's just, raising a daughter as well. Like I get it. And two little boys. I actually love my little boys seeing me work, right? Like
yeah.
I think it's important. We're modeling and role modeling for them all the time, right? So I think it's awesome. I think it's significant. So thank you for sharing that. And I thank you for your time today, Chelsea. It's amazing.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back. I'm not sure what the next topic will be, but stay tuned. So, all right. Thank you.
Bye.